sitting here, she's holding a shoe, and it's like, where did all my money go? I know that I made some. Miranda's like, there it is, 100 times 400. There's your down payment. And Carrie goes, well, that's only $4,000.
She can't do math.
God.
Yeah. She can't move the zeros. This is when an intervention should have occurred.
Welcome back to And Just Like Yap, everybody. I am Andy.
I'm Caroline.
Today we have a very, very special guest. We are very, very, very excited. She is a comedian, writer, and producer here in Chicago. One of my favorite people that I've performed with, Colette Gregory. Welcome to And Just Like Yap.
I'm so happy to be here.
We're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
It is an honor.
So Colette, talk to us first and foremost, your relationship to Sex and the City, when you started watching it, how it's been a part of your life, anything like that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. The first time I remember interacting with Sex and the City was actually the summer after my freshman year of college. I went to a summer program at NYU. And I was staying like at a campus dorm there, and there were some cool New Yorkers who were also in the dorm with me, and they would like watch it in like the common room, and they were just so funny because they were like, man, she acts so real. She just acts so real. It's what they, and I was like, yeah, that's what acting is. Yeah. But I was like very, very sheltered. I was very much like a goody two-shoe. So it was like, oh, this is so scandalous. Oh, the nudity, the topics of discussion. So it honestly wasn't until after I graduated and until I was like a good 24, 25 that I watched it myself.
Was it a different experience?
Absolutely, because at the time when I started watching it, I had like moved into my first apartment in Chicago, and I was like, oh my God, I also am a city girl. Like we're the same. We're the same. You know, my girls, we brunch. So it just made me feel like, yeah, I'm living the life. Mm-hmm. I'm in Chicago, but we're basically the same.
All right, now Colette, so with that in mind, who in the universe do you feel like you identify with?
Oh, okay. I would say I'm kidding.
I mean, scream. That would make me so happy as a JDS. Yeah.
And we're both comedians. Now, I've been different people at different times in my life. Mm-hmm. As I was alluding to earlier, like I was raised like very conservative, very Christian. So I was a Charlotte probably, through college. And then after college, I thought I was Carrie minus the lovers, it was, shoes and my own apartment. We're the same. And then in my 30s, after I left my first fiance, I was a Samantha.
As you should be.
As I should have been. Yeah. Just being like, you know what? I was a good girl for a long time. So it is way overdue for me to see what that D do. And then, now I would say I am a Miranda with a sense of humor. Like very like business oriented, very, I have a plan, I'm going to execute it. But I also have a good time.
That's great.
That makes sense. Man, you can do it all.
Miranda, like after she's done too much weed.
Exactly.
Exactly. Done too much weed. Oh my God. Okay, so Colette, you have selected to recap season 4, episode 16, Ring-a-Ding-Ding. Love this episode. So tell us why you chose this episode in particular.
Yeah, so this episode for me was really the first time that Sex and the City got how do I want to say this? It's the first time Sex and the City got real about finances, because Carrie had this idealized life with the clothes and the shoes and the apartment. And in TV shows like that, it's just assumed that, of course, this person has the money to maintain this lifestyle. And then we find out that actually Carrie is not doing well in the finance department. And it's so funny rewatching it. This particular episode resonated with me in so many other ways than just like the fact that this is where they got real, because Carrie was 35, leaving the man that she was engaged to and restarting her life. And when I was 35, I left the COO of a tech company that I was engaged to. And I moved back to Chicago, gave back the ring, moved back to Chicago. And everyone thought I was insane because I was like, I'm going to become a comedian. I was like, oh my God, me and Carrie were in the same exact freaking place at that point in time.
I did not know that you had like that same kind of origin story here in Chicago. I mean, like a second time in Chicago. That's amazing. Wow, what parallels. All right, well.
I also think, like, this just in general, it's just, like, a very controversial episode, I think, because of a lot of this stuff. And I think it's going to be interesting to sort of see where we all align when we get to some of the big conversations throughout the episode, which I think is why it's, like you're saying, like, sex, it just meets you at different points in your life. So it's interesting to see, like, where this episode hits you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for me, hearing Carrie say 35, I was like, oh, I'm older than her now. Oh, my God. Like,
but probably so much better off than she was at that time, if you think about it.
Well, yeah. In a lot of ways, yes. In a lot of ways. In other ways, probably not. But let's get right into it. The episode begins in a pretty sad place. We do start. I forgot that there are some like Wizard of Oz references peppered throughout this episode. But Carrie's starting at a pretty negative place. Her toilet is not working while Aidan is moving out. Like if there's any way to add insult to injury, it's a toilet crisis in the middle of an emotional crisis.
Right?
Yeah.
Why? I'm going through enough, but then plumbing.
Yeah,
exactly. Top of it,
exactly. It's so rude. It's so rude.
It's a reminder. It's like your life is in the toilet. So just like we need a physical manifestation that it can always get worse.
It can always get worse. It can always get worse. And Carrie is trying to fix it on her own in front of Aidan while Aidan is moving out. Like handyman Aidan is like watching this woman struggle to fix her own toilet while he's moving out.
But do you think she was really trying to fix it? Because I
Probably
remember,
not.
Yeah.
Right? Because like when I was in my 20s, and I was dating someone and he lived out of town and I was like, oh my God, it snowed. Like I got to dig out my car. And he's like, oh, just stand outside with a shovel and a man will come do it for you. And I did. I stood outside with a shovel and then some man was like, oh no, ma'am, I will. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I really was going to do it. So I think it's
That's amazing. Yeah.
I think it was props. It was theater.
Yeah. Listen, any way we can like weaponize misogyny for our own gain in those moments, like please.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Big fan. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to. Yeah, it is possible. Carrie put on the gloves and was like, "Oh no!" Like I think I don't know what.
It's a costume. It's theater.
It is.
Yeah.
It's theater.
Yeah.
I think at one point she like pulls a wrench out of the toilet, and it's like I don't know that we ever thought that was going to be the right tool to put in the toilet.
She wasn't even showing butt crack. How did she think she was going to be a plumber?
Yeah.
She wasn't committed to it at all. Not at all.
Commit to the bit, ma'am.
Yeah. Also, like, it does make Aidan feel even worse than he already does. And, like, we love that. This, I guess, is where I should ask, Colette, how do you feel about Aidan? Because we have our own opinions.
Aidan is a complicated figure because, first of all, Aidan is fucking hot. Like, fucking hot. Sure. Like
this version of Aidan is hot. When he has the haircut, this is hot.
Yeah, the hair was hot. A man who can, like, do things with his hands. Hot. Artistic. Sensitive, ready to commit, like all of these are positives for me. However, like I never understood it during the time when I was watching it. I didn't understand like why she didn't want Aidan, but now looking back, I'm like, oh, he's just like blah.
Yeah,
he's just like blah. It's just not anything exciting, special, interesting, dangerous.
I agree.
He's just like
he's like missing like an essential spark.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
He needs some Lorries. He needs some hot sauce. He needs some Tony Chacheers. Like
exactly.
The man needs to be seasoned. He's very bland, very bland.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, Aidan jumps in to help her, and then we get this ridiculous moment of like them standing so close to each other and him saying, "Hold the ball cock," which I guess is part of a toilet. They're joking around like our last words to each other can't be ball cock. And then Carrie interrupts it to say, here's where I left the ring on the clown table, which I'm like, what is the clown?
Yeah.
What was that? I was waiting for a table that was like a clown.
I don't know what she's talking about. We'll never. It's one of those things. Yeah. We'll just never know.
It must be some fancy New York thing.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. That's what my assumption is. Aidan says that he wants her to keep it, and then she was like, no, like, please stop being nice. Like, please take the ring.
This is why you should not be at home when your ex is moving out. Not that I don't have recent experience with this, but you should not be at home when they are moving out. That you had the conversations where this is like going to allow recent wounds to potentially be reopened. Like, you need the separation of church and state. Like, the two of you should not be there. Like, because it just leaves like these weird gray area conversations that Carrie's having that's like sort of pulling Aidan back in. You need to like separate the two. Like, it's just, you can't backslide. There can't be space for backsliding. You cannot be go with Stanford and have a martini 2 blocks away. Let the man get his stuff out and leave.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm a fan of like a clean cut, like when it's over, it's over.
I mean, I agree with that. This scene is it's very painful. And I mean, credit to Sarah Jessica Parker. She does really act the shit out of it. Like, Carrie having this little freak out of like, I can't watch you leave. I'm going to stay in the bathroom. Like, it is pretty emotionally effective for me.
However, when she said like the transition, she's like 5 hours later, girl, you didn't have a cell phone. Three hours later. So she's like, 3 hours later.
What were you doing?
TikTok. What were you doing? And you still had the gloves on? I know our hands were sweaty and musty. If you have those gloves on for 3 hours.
Why are none of the girls like running and they're like, let's go get a bagel. Like, let's go look at some shoes. Like, there's so many. You're in New York. You don't need to be held hostage in your like 50 square foot bathroom.
And you are right. She didn't have a phone. So, like, what was she doing? Sitting alone with her thoughts? Like, Carrie Bradshaw is famously not interested in sitting alone with her thoughts.
Like, when introspection happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very
Is she
very
ripping cigs with the door closed and it's just like a cloud of smoke just coming out?
She's hotboxing. That makes sense.
I listen.
That's the only answer.
I guess I could be alone with my thoughts for 3 hours if I had endless joints. So like fine. Let's make that assumption. But when she gets up, she sees that there is a letter for her. All of us just got so tense.
Yeah, it is, right? My shoulders are like
I know. She assumes that it's going to be a goodbye letter, and she settles in still with the gloves on. This is like the person who's medicated for OCD inside of me is like, I'm sorry, your dirty toilet gloves are gonna like be the same. You're gonna cry into a tissue while wearing your dirty toilet gloves.
You're
what are you
touching things around your house? That defeats the purpose of gloves.
Take them off and wash your hands. What are you doing? Yeah, that detail has always bothered me. But yeah, so she thinks it's going to be a goodbye letter, but lo and behold, she gets slammed with legal notice from the law offices of Gold and Vogel. So, of course, Carrie brings this document immediately to her lawyer, Miranda, and surprisingly, Miranda says this is more than fair, and says that, like, the deal is Aidan is giving her 30 days to vacate, because previously, the reason why this is happening, Aidan bought Carrie's apartment and the apartment next door so that they could combine them and have, their dream apartment. So Miranda says, per this contract, Carrie has 3 days to either buy the apartment for the same price that Aidan paid or leave, and then he will sell it. How do we feel about the situation that Aidan has put her in? Because I personally am like, I don't know. I get that, like, your relationship is over, but can't you give her a little more time than 30 days? Like, you know that this woman is in love with that apartment. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought it was, like, low-key, like, a little get back from Aidan, because 30 days? You knew that she didn't have the money to buy an apartment because she would have done that previously. So you're just setting her up for failure.
Also, what I think is an important distinction here is that he has another place to live. Like, because this would be different if they were cohabitating, which I have to say, not that I'm speaking of personal experience, I don't recommend. But I think...
Text my husband, you gotta go.
Get out of here.
Get out.
Yeah, but so I think that I think like a 90-day runway then at this point, because you're not cohabitating. So it's not like you're on top of each other. He has a whole other apartment that I guess he's going back to his studio, the country cabin. This man has property. He has real estate. And this is why, as we often say, you can't rely on a man financially and can't allow them in these situations. You have to have your own way out of here so that you have a backup plan, because it's going to happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. I 90 days to me would have been fair. Also, like, as someone who has purchased a home, it's darn near impossible as part of the homeowner class. It takes more than 30 days. So yeah, not fair. Not okay.
No, yeah, especially, given what you said, like, Aidan knows her. He knows the context that she's not going to be able to do this. So it's just, I found it weird that Miranda also thought that was fair. I was like, I think this is Miranda being a little too much of a lawyer and being like, this is a well-written contract.
Litigious. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, Carrie, of course, jokes that she's going to be a Fendi bag lady. And then this is funny, her friends are encouraging her to, like, maybe you should buy her a place. She's like, no, New York is a town of renters. Carrie always has this, like, mythology about herself, even though she's now sitting at a table with her 3 best friends, none of whom are renting an apartment anymore. And, of course, she then goes after Charlotte, which is like planting the seeds of what's later going to happen in this episode, because, Carrie's like, well, you didn't even pay for your apartment. And Charlotte's like, oh, I paid for that apartment, meaning obviously she had to deal with the horrible fallout of Trey and mostly Bunny McDougal. We're seeing some of the tension between Carrie and Charlotte already in this instance. Miranda's super gassy because she's super pregnant.
I love
Can we talk about Samantha's necklace for a second?
Yes. I love that necklace. I love it.
That is something that I have seen on the back of pickup trucks as I travel through rural parts of Michigan. And the fact that she's like, you know what, I want to wear to brunch? This.
That's really funny. She also wears it, like, a couple times in this episode, like a couple different days. Like, something funny that, like, the costuming people on Sex and the City do is if they find, like, an accessory that they're like, we really love this, we want to make sure people see it, the character then, which is, I mean, this is kind of what people actually do. If I buy something new that I'm like, oh, I really like this, you are going to see it multiple times in the same week. Like, I'm not going to be shy about it. So, Samantha is now talking about her beautiful new Chanel wallet that Richard gave her in a series of gifts. But the disappointment in the gift is that it always comes with a card that is very, very impersonal. And this one was Style for Style, Best Richard. This has come up a couple times on this show, but I just want to highlight, it's crazy to go back and see, like, beauty standards during Sex and the City. Like, Miranda's nails look
terrible.
rough.
Let's just say it.
Yeah.
I was like, what, is that her actual hand, or is that like a 6th grade boy? Like, whose hands are those?
I don't know, but it's like, I was shocked, actually. I was like, I mean, listen, I don't do shit to my nails. My nails look like garbage all the time. But, like, this is a main character on a TV show about, like, stylish women in New York. Yeah.
I tried to, like, justify it, being like, oh, maybe she has her nails short for fingering. But, like, there's no fingering in this episode.
We weren't there yet.
So,
I mean, you could be saying that about Cynthia Nixon herself, for sure. But I was just sort of surprised. I was like, oh, Miranda, those are some rough nails.
Like, she needed the plastic gloves, the rubber gloves. Like, that's who should have had the rubber gloves on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Cynthia Nixon. We find out from Carrie that Aidan wanted her to keep the ring, but she said no. And Carrie's like, trying to get some support from Charlotte of like, well, you must have felt weird about keeping Trey's ring. And she's like, no, I love that ring. I don't want to get rid of it. But then we do see that Charlotte has gone to the jeweler. I love this little cameo from, this actress as, like, the jeweler who's, like, trying to figure out, like, I don't know. She's just got, like, a real, like a fun energy about her of like, ooh, what are we going to do with this horrible man's piece of jewelry? she's so excited about it.
This scene, I took a lot of notes about this scene.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because so let me pull up my notes. So the ring is a 2.17 carat ring, which at that time, impressive. But now in the age of what do you call them? The lab grown diamonds.
Right. Oh, sure.
Right. She would have had like 10, 12. carat ring for that amount of money. The other thing that I love about this particular scene is that this actress says 2 slurs.
She sure does. She sure does.
In rapid succession.
I know.
Because the one hit me and I was like, oh. And then before I had time to recover, another.
I know.
And I was like, they were like, let's pack them in. Because if they miss the first one, I want to make sure they get the next one.
One of the many ways in which this show has aged very, very poorly. But yeah, so she's like going in on Charlotte of like, oh my God, all the beautiful things we could do with this ring. And then she mentions that we would have to melt the setting in order to make that happen. Charlotte is upset. She doesn't want to melt her ring down. And so she decides to leave and is not ready to deal with her ring yet. Now, we end up at the bank where Carrie is asking for a loan. And we find out that Carrie has $700 in checking, which she then qualifies and is like, I just paid my credit card bill. That's why it's so low. And $957 in savings. And this is a 35-year-old woman. Now,
girl, why even have a savings account?
I know.
You could have just transferred that to checking, mama.
Or put it in a high-yield savings account so it's actually doing something. Yeah.
I know. This is actually, it's pretty harrowing. And like, yeah, this is like, 20 years ago. But even for 20 years ago, like, that's pretty bad. And yeah, it is interesting, like you said, Colette, in the context of like, everyone who's been watching the show for the previous, 3.5 seasons, when you watch Friends, when you watch anything, you're like, how do these people afford this apartment? Like, there's just no way. So it was really interesting to have it, like, just sort of bluntly out in the open of, like, she can't really afford the lifestyle that she's living. No. She's just making it work somehow.
Yeah, to me, that was just, like, a big reveal because I was like, what? But Carrie has it all together. Like, she's the it girl. And it just rocked my world. This is why this episode, like, resonated with me so much. Because, like, Carrie?
I know.
I know, because it's like she got she invested in fashion. She didn't invest in herself. She invested in fashion. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite Carrie looks. Like, as a side,
she looks great.
I love the necklace. I love the color, and I love the hair, the big bun. It's great.
She looks
I
great.
mean, this woman has $1,600 to her name, and that outfit is probably $2,000.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but I will say also, I agree with them. I was like, why is she not seeking freelance writing? Like, why are you not doing that? Like, you're just surviving. Again, she's able to buy all of this on one column. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. And also, like, I think it's a previous episode to this, when she's talking about how, like, when she first moved to New York, she would buy Vogue instead of Lunch because she could only afford one, and, like, Vogue nourished her more. So, like, this woman's not well.
Yeah.
No.
We should have known when she said that the finances weren't financing.
They were bad. And, like, listen, I'm not the best with money, but, like, it is pretty shocking. I did want to mention, so the woman who plays Linda, the loan officer at the bank, actually does come back in and just like that, which
amazing.
Yeah, we briefly covered this when we were recapping and Just Like That, which was the inception of this entire show to begin with. Yeah. But when Seema goes to the bank to ask for a loan, they brought back the woman who plays Linda to be the loan officer. I know. I just think that's so funny. Like, just what a random piece of continuity, like, between the two shows.
And also, like, love that she hasn't advanced in her career, in all those years. Very realistic for a woman to be in the same role at the same desk.
I know. Correct.
Decades
exactly.
Later, so.
Yes. Yeah. Linda, thank you for holding it down, Linda. I'm sorry that you haven't been given a promotion. So Carrie then, this is so funny, like, Linda is asking her, like, what are your other assets? And Carrie decides to be like, I don't have any, but, like, I won the pick for, like, best columnist over Pete Hamill. Which is like, that's not worth anything. Pete Hamill was apparently like a very popular real columnist for the New York Post who wrote a lot about like life in New York. And so like this was, I just supposed to highlight like she's so well loved in New York. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't, they can love you. That doesn't mean you have any money. Linda reads her for absolute filth and says she's not a desirable candidate for a loan.
Damn, Linda.
And then, I know. And then Carrie makes this face.
Actually, like, been there, sister.
Yeah. Like, she fully turns into, like, Kermit the Frog and is like, oh, well. No loan for me.
I'm poor.
Yeah. I have no money. funny.
It's very like the modern day version of Charlotte in not our Charlotte from here, but Charlotte from Pride and Prejudice. Like, I'm a 27-year-old woman with no prospects. Like, she's a 35-year-old woman with 1,000 pairs of shoes and no prospects and no income.
So Carrie decides that she's going to start budgeting right here and now and is going to take the bus. She doesn't even know how much the bus costs anymore because it's been so long since she's taken one, which is crazy. I mean, I understand that cabs in New York were not as expensive as they are now, and we didn't have rideshare and whatnot, but like, she hasn't been taking like any public transit.
Right? It makes absolutely no sense. So I lived in New York for grad school, and when I graduated, my family came out. And, we took cabs because, like, they're from Indiana. Like, I'm not putting them on the subway. And my dad was like, why don't you just take cabs all the time? And I was like, with whose money, bitch?
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
Also, it doesn't make sense because, like, traffic.
Yeah.
Like, getting around New York in a cab, it usually makes so much more sense to take the subway than to drive.
Totally.
So, like, what are you doing, Carrie?
I think we only ever really see evidence of her taking the subway one time. It's when she goes to, like, ring the bell at the stock exchange. We see her take the subway after there's too much traffic for a cab. So, like, it's just kind of crazy this woman calls herself a New Yorker and, like, has been taking cabs everywhere. And, of course, this woman who she... of course, sees Carrie on the side of the bus and says, why do you have to take the bus if you're on the bus?
The shade of the century.
Great question.
The shade of the century.
Yeah.
I know. And it's like, again, similar to the toilet moment of like, it's insult to injury, like left and right for Carrie.
It's also amazing if you think about like the ad runtime normally, the fact that this is still on the bus, because if you think about like, she shot it like 4 years ago. So the fact that like, is she getting residuals on this? Like what's the kickback that she's getting?
Okay, if you are on the bus for 4 years, you should have more than $1,600 to your name.
Yeah.
Why isn't she asking questions about that? Like, she needs to get in touch with somebody about that. Carrie heads back to write her column and is talking about how she's got no financial security, which is a crazy thing to just dawn on you when you're 35, but, she's doing the best she can.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. And she's saying, like, but I have all this life experience that, like, isn't worth anything. And, like, if you sum it all up, it's like I don't actually have any of, like, physical, tangible proof to show for, like, the life that I've lived. Like, what's it all worth? I mean, great fucking question.
I say that.
Yeah, I mean, the socialist in me is like, we are not worth money. Like, our worth is not in money. Our worth is not determined by dollar bills. And still, Carrie.
I'm glad they wrote this episode because I do think this is an important question to have as women. And as we get into it a little bit more later, like Charlotte's like, why are we talking about money? But unfortunately, we got to be talking about money because then otherwise men have the power and they continue to retain that power. So if we don't have any, knowledge about that financial independence, then we continue to stay in this position of being submissive to them. And we can't have that.
Can we go on a tangent right here for a moment?
Please, absolutely, yeah.
So going back to like where I was when I was 35, right? So I had graduated from grad school and I moved to Silicon Valley to be with my ex-fiance who was a CEO of a tech company. Coming out of grad school, already poor, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know why I'm hating on Carrie, but and then being with someone who was substantially more financially successful than I was, just created like a very unhealthy dynamic. And I think for me, like coming out of that situation, because it eventually did become, unfortunately, an abusive situation, not being financially independent myself kept me in that situation for longer than I needed to be.
Yeah.
And so just looking at Carrie and seeing like where she was to an extent financially dependent upon a man to be able to keep her home. It's such a big lesson, but it's not necessarily spelled out in the episode. Like it's a something like with experience and with time, I can see that that's what was really going on there. But it's so interesting that it's not explicitly stated.
Yeah, that is interesting that they don't explicitly talk about it. But yeah, I mean, similar to what we were saying earlier of like the show just like meets you where you're at. As you get older, you do read between the lines of the show more. And you're like, ooh, they didn't spell this out for me when I was younger, and I didn't understand it because they didn't spell it out for me when I was younger. But now that I've lived some of it, okay, I get it. Like, this resonates.
Yeah. I mean, it comes back in the first movie when Carrie and Big are going to buy the apartment, and then she's like, oh, Big's just going to buy it. And Miranda's like, bloop, 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 you're not going to have any equity in this. So she sells this apartment to have a part. So it's interesting how this conversation comes up again, because the movie's like at least probably 6 years after this.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that, Colette. So back at Charlotte's apartment, she is on the phone trying to get a job at a gallery. And it turns out that, you know, she took herself out of the workforce. Similar conversation to what we were just having. Charlotte had decided she was going to go more of a traditional route and let Trey be the breadwinner. And she took herself out of the workforce to focus on being a wife and a mother. That didn't turn out the way she wanted to. And now she's having trouble re-entering the workforce because of that time she took away, which is a very, very real thing that happens, especially to women. So she's having trouble with that. And in order to make herself feel better, she has this secret habit of putting on her old ring, even though it doesn't mean as much as it used to, but she likes to just put it on and run her hands dramatically across different parts of her apartment. Yeah, how do we feel about this behavior as like Charlotte's secret weird engagement ring thing? How do we feel about this?
It's sad. It's so sad. I felt so bad for her because so much of her worth was tied up into being able to live up to that ideal of being married and marrying well and presenting this image of perfection. And when that's taken away from her, and then having her career in the art field also be taken from her, I'm sure she was experiencing so much loss.
And she's also wandering around. It's like the ghost of like what her relationship was, who she was in this apartment that she shared with Trey. So there's like that as well, where it's like, you know, she needs like the biggest wad of sage to go through that apartment and actually like make the marks of it to make it feel like her own. Because of course it's like you're going to be stuck in this like idealized version of the past when you haven't made any steps out of that to move forward in your future. But she does it on her timeline.
It's true, but it is interesting, though, how the finances really are what makes the difference here, because, like, Charlotte's clearly struggling emotionally, but she has a very nice roof over her head. She wants to re-enter the workforce, but financially she doesn't even have to. So it's like, it makes all the difference in the world that, like, yeah, it doesn't make her struggles and her sadness any less valid, but it's like, that is a different level of discomfort than somebody who's on the precipice of not having a place to live or like a way to pay for their life. Meanwhile, Samantha is still struggling with the fact that Richard keeps buying her these lavish gifts, but the card always says best instead of love, because this is the first iteration of the relationship with Richard.
Yes.
I believe. Yeah. So they just still haven't gotten there yet, and she doesn't trust that she's going to. This Carrie
I feel so bad for that man at the shoe store.
I know. Oh my God. She's sniffing shoes, and then she's telling the retail employee that she's just trying them on for fun. And as someone who's done their time in retail, I love this. Like, please humble this woman and remind her that she is ruining your day.
I know.
Customers who behave this way need to be lightly shamed.
Or she should have gone back to Crabtree and Evelyn with the guy that was doing the shoes for Charlotte's feet, the foot fetish. He could have given her a pair of shoes for free.
That's true. That's
true.
That
was the whole thing. If she really wanted to get her finances correct, she should have put some shoes on and taken them off on video for a certain demographic of people who would have happily bought her that apartment, the one next door, the one next door.
It's very true. So there's been a trend recently of people just like showing their heel collections, and these are not people who are in like the foot fetish or OnlyFans space, just like regular like women with shoe collections who want to show them off. And so they're doing a lot of these just like, it's just their feet like walking around in their heels. And I saw another creator who was like, stop doing this. There is a whole market for this and a business for this, and you are giving it away for free. Like, what are you doing?
She does not have entrepreneurial spirit. And that's why she's in this position.
She does not. Carrie could really make a killing. I mean, she's got so many pairs of beautiful shoes. Like,
right?
That's the spinoff I want to see, where Carrie just has an OnlyFans where she just tries on her shoes. Miranda is still farting around, of course. And Miranda is also mentioning that one of the side effects of being pregnant is that she's never been this horny in her entire life, which is inconvenient because when you're married, somebody is, as she says, obligated to have sex with you.
Right.
Not the best way to put it, but we know what she means. And she says that she's undesirable, and Carrie's like, no, I'm undesirable. I'm not a good candidate for a loan, which, like, I can't imagine Miranda being surprised by that information.
I know.
But yeah, so Carrie is sitting here, she's holding a shoe, and it's like, where did all my money go? I know that I made some, and this was really crazy. Miranda was like, well, how many of these do you have? And we find out it's like roughly 100. Miranda's like, well, there it is, 100 times 400, there's your down payment. And Carrie goes, well, that's only $4,000.
She can't do math.
God.
She can't move the zeros. That wasn't
She
even
never
her
said
math.
Math is what got her here, her lack of math skills. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
This is when an intervention should have occurred.
Yeah.
This is when Miranda should have called the rest of the girls, set up a little situation, had Carrie come over and say, you have a problem. You were sniffing shoes in public. You spent $40,000 on them. You're still looking at them. Like, get help.
Get out of the shoe store. What are you doing still in the shoe store?
Right?
I mean, to think, the fact that Carrie has been living this entire time thinking that she's only spent roughly $4,000 on shoes is like really, really sending me into outer space. Yeah, so Miranda's like, no, bitch, it's $40,000. And Carrie is freaked out about that and says she will literally be the old woman who lived in her shoes. Miranda pulls her own finger. You know, Miranda's basically just like a fart joke most of this episode.
Yes.
I do think it's funny though that, like, I feel like Miranda would be the person to give Carrie like the tough love in this situation of like, come over to my apartment, I'll get my legal pad out, we're gonna like hammer this out and put you on a budget, but like, Miranda's dealing with her own shit. All right, so Carrie is apartment hunting, and God, the harrowing experience of hunting for an apartment when you do not have your finances in order. That's a horror movie I have lived, and it's bad. And the worst thing you could possibly say to Carrie is, in order to maximize closet space, you hang a plastic shoe rack on your door. She's horrified. And of course, makes a joke that she'll hang herself on the door if she has to live here. Poor Delia, the real estate agent, is like, this fucking woman. And then I did think this was interesting. Like, even then in 2002 when this episode came out, this shitty little apartment was almost $3,000 a month. I can only imagine what this apartment would cost in New York now, at least double that.
5 figures, yeah.
Yes.
I've had to learn living in LA is that they only just passed this law because they consider it an amenity. Not all apartments in LA are required to have a refrigerator.
What?
So you have to look at listings to see if the apartments have a fridge, because then otherwise you have to provide your own fridge.
Because, like, eating is optional.
Delia is like, you should consider Weehawken in New Jersey, because Delia has had enough. Delia will not be taking any more of Carrie's calls. Jump scare, we head to Big's office. We have never seen Big at work in his office.
That is shocking.
We never ever have. He just like exists in the world in a suit, and like we never see evidence that he actually works until this. Carrie is like dressed like honestly, this dress looks a lot like the dress she ends up getting married to Big in at the courthouse.
It does.
In the movie. But she gets fully dressed up, and she's saying to Big, like, you leveraged $3 million. She's basically like, I read somewhere that you like did good business, and is like, can you teach me how to do that? But I don't want to work here. But then, of course, we get this is very sad moment. Carrie says, I'm worth nothing. And then we get this, I don't love Big, but I do really like this moment of like, he says that she's worth $1 million. Colette, what are your thoughts on Big?
I go back and forth on Big. Like, I think, like, Chris Noth, I think, is a hottie.
Sure.
And, like, but he just always seemed emotionally unavailable to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like, I need a My type is sad white boy with guitar. So
all been there. We've all been there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's not giving sad white boy with a guitar enough for me.
No, I get that. I totally get that.
But I love that he says that because it's like the right thing she needed to hear in that moment. Like meeting her exactly where she's feeling so low because it's like she's questioning her self-worth in a way that the rest of the world is telling her, again, she's undesirable. But he's like, baby, like, don't listen to that. Like, you've got it. And I'm like, that's hot. I wish they would have fucked in The Office. That's my toxic fan fiction.
And if they did that, I would have definitely kept the check.
Yeah. That's a
100%.
transaction. Yeah.
It's a transaction.
100%.
I'd be just like Charlotte. I earned it.
But yeah, so Carrie says that she's not the marrying kind, and he says that she's gonna be okay. This is a nice interaction between the two of them. I also appreciated this because it does make you feel pretty worthless when you realize that, like, as you said, the socialist in us is like, no, my worth doesn't lie in money, but also, like, in order to be alive in the world, it kind of has to. So I do like this interaction. She again is like, so tell me everything you know about money. Which is a crazy thing to ask somebody. And it turns out that Big has written her a check for $30,000 and she is considering taking it.
It's interesting, the reveal when she talks about that she and Aidan broke up in the office. I think is such like an interesting reveal of like how she doesn't lead with that. And it's like, there's such a weird, like, I don't know, not game here, but like for their relationship, because he's like, oh, interesting. Now I know she's available. And then knowing 2 episodes later, he's like buying a place in Napa. Like, I don't know. This is such an interesting moment in their dynamic together.
It is, yeah, because they're still trying to be friends, even though they both kind of know that, like, that's not really the category that they put each other in. Can you imagine, like, Aidan would never know because Carrie would put it in her bank account, but like she's going to be buying the apartment from Aidan, so it would be very interesting. Like, I don't know, if I were Aidan, to be like, where'd she get this $30,000 from? And like, you know where she got the $30,000 from. It's probably from Big. Samantha, of course, is like, do it, take the money, like, of course. And again, Samantha's wearing her mud flap girl necklace. And she was like, yeah, why the hell not? Take the money. There's no shame in that. Miranda, of course, counterpoint is like, when a man gives you money, you give him control, which we've been talking about that a lot already. So like, yeah, I get it.
Okay, yes, I agree with Miranda completely that when a man gives you money, you give him control. On the same hand, I think it comes from a place of like making sure that you have good boundaries with a man that you are not currently with. But she then goes and fucks Steve. So
yeah. I know. Miranda talks out of 2 sides of her mouth a lot. Miranda thinks of herself one way, and she's very rigid about how she thinks of herself, and then behaves a completely different other way. Like, a lot of the time, she's full of contradictions. She contains multitudes. Yes. But yeah, for sure. I love that, of course, Samantha's view of money is the same as her view of, like, sexuality, of, like, it's fluid. Yeah, somebody needs money, you give it, you have it, you take it, whatever. And then, this is such a weird moment in Sex and the City, where, like, Charlotte is, like, shuts it down. And she's like, you never hear one of the girls say, I'm not comfortable with the conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
And they talk, as Miranda then says, the next line, she says, we talk about absolutely everything. I mean, Samantha's had her fingers up Carrie's hoo-ha, like pulling out a diaphragm, and you guys can't talk about money, which is kind of like the crux of the whole episode, is like, people are really weird about money. And a lot of times the reason people who are in debt remain in debt is because people are weird about money. It's very shameful to talk about money. A lot of people, like, their parents just raised them to, like, and it's clear Charlotte is an example of this. A lot of people, like, I remember my parents to a certain extent being like, those are certain conversations that people are not going to want to have. So yeah, people are weird about money, but it's a very strange dynamic to have one of the women pipe up and be like, I'm not comfortable, because that never happens. So how do you two feel about this moment?
I have strong opinions. I think that it's interesting that Charlotte, the person with the most amount of money, is the one to say we shouldn't be talking about money. And I think it's indicative of who does it benefit for us not to talk about money. It benefits those people in the ruling class, right?
Yeah.
because if we don't talk about, for example, my husband's very passionate about salary disclosure at his job, because and you know, he is white cis het man, but he feels like it's important for him to talk about it because other people who don't have the amount of privilege that he might have might not be getting paid on the same level as him. And he wants people to be able to talk about it so that they can advocate for themselves. So saying we shouldn't be talking about money, it's like, who does that benefit, Charlotte? That benefits people who are in power, who hold the purse strings, because when those of us who are not in the dominant class start talking about money, well, then we can start seeing what's really going on.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's so as I went to school of the House of Real Housewives, so they often say money talks, wealth whispers. So I think it's a thing of, especially because the money is coming from old money, and I think a lot about Kathy Hilton on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because she's very much a person that like does not like talking about money, and you often find the people who don't talk about it are the ones who have like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars versus the people who like Dorit, who needs to be covered in labels head to toe. It's like much more ostentatious. So I think it's like this reflection of like where this money is like lived in family money. And I think it's a reflection of the time this episode was written, because I think we're now in a place where I think it, like you're saying, like with your partner, that like we're much more open about talking about like what we're making. But I think in 2001, this was not happening yet. I think this was just a time where no one was talking about money. So whereas we are, I think like our generation has been like kind of the leader in that, because I think it was just like it's viewed as like not polite, and but we've much more normalized the conversation in a way that it should be.
Absolutely. So this is just, it's such an interesting dynamic for an episode of Sex and the City and for these four women. Miranda immediately is like, I have about half that I will loan you. Samantha wants to loan her the other half, and Charlotte is slurping her tea.
It's like, doo-doo-doo.
I know, exactly. Like, it's like, yeah, like a cartoon, and it's very, very awkward and uncomfortable. Carrie decides she's not going to take Big's money and rips up the check. And then Charlotte immediately is like, cool, great, we're not talking about money anymore. I'm going to change the conversation completely, and is excited about her new job as a docent. Carrie then, of course, is like, what's that? Like, how much money does it make? And Charlotte is like, oh, no, it's a volunteer job. Like, I don't know. I've never disliked Charlotte so much, but this episode is hard for me with her because, like everything we just talked about, where like Charlotte also comes from family money on her own, like apart from Trey. And so like the fact that she kind of had the audacity, like I obviously want Charlotte to be happy about her like new thing, but like the fact that she had the audacity to pivot away from like her friend literally being like, I don't have the money to live, to then shut down that conversation and be like, I just got this new job that pays no money I'm very excited about. Like, it's read the room,
right?
Charlotte.
Like, Charlotte.
Girl. Really. Carrie has no fortune in her fortune cookie. Like, the world is just being very, very unkind to Carrie. She makes a joke about the fan saving her money on air conditioning, and then she also has a little breakdown in the street and is like, no Aidan, no apartment. It's been a rough 2 weeks. And we do sort of see, like, she's flanked on either side by like Samantha and Miranda, who sort of reach out to her physically in this moment, and Charlotte is kind of on the outs here. So like it's still, the weirdness of that moment has not been resolved, and it will not be yet. Carrie's wandering around her apartment in the next scene and is like, I'm gonna miss this apartment so much, and then she gets very irrationally angry and decides to take it out, of course, on Charlotte. Now, I feel like we're going to have a lot to say about this scene in particular. Carrie gets really angry at Charlotte and is like, I wouldn't have taken the money, but I would have offered it to you if you were struggling. Of course, Charlotte is like, well, this isn't exactly what I said. Like, a lot of people have these experiences with their parents where they're like, don't talk about money. And she was like, my father and his friend Paul were never the same. And Carrie's like, no. We're not talking about your father and his friend Paul. We're talking about us. Okay, so how do we feel about this whole situation as a whole?
I do understand why she was angry, because if I was in that situation, if I had it to give my friend, I most likely would. Even if, Charlotte had reasons for not giving it to her, she still could have like dealt with Carrie with some empathy, some understanding, a little bit softer. So I totally get that. it sounds like Charlotte has a little bit of like vicarious trauma from whatever happened with her dad and Paul. But also, if she knew that Carrie was going to say no, then why not pretend to offer it? No harm, no foul. Yeah.
I think it's because Charlotte's not acknowledging that she's feeling the same sort of thing. They're both alone. They're both coming out of in different ways. Like, because I think Charlotte thought this was going to be her forever with Trey. She thought this was she saw the light through the end of the tunnel of what her future was going to be as Mrs. McDougal, that they were going to have the kids, they were going to have the Park Avenue apartment, she had the doctor husband, she was going to be the stay-at-home wife, and now her life and identity are upside down. And I think Carrie on the other end still has her identity, but doesn't have the stability. So I think it's forcing Charlotte to have to sort of reckon with these things with herself that she doesn't want to have the conversations with herself about.
That is very insightful, Caroline.
That is very
insightful. They're just different sides of the same coin. Yeah. One person has the identity and without the stability, and one person has the stability without the identity.
Yeah. That is very astute. Carrie is saying, like, I'm working out some of my financial messiness by taking on freelance work. She's been offered $4 a word at Vogue, which Carrie then goes on to be like, most people don't get that. Okay, that's like good. And she makes the point that, like, if like you have made mistakes in your life, Charlotte, and I have nodded and listened and supported you instead of what you did, which was sit across from me at the restaurant saying nothing and just sort of staring awkwardly at me, turning away when you should have been looking at me. And this is where like things get a little bit more petty of like, and it Carrie's like, and it kills me that you don't even have to work, which yeah, I mean, don't we all wish? Like, again, this is with a rare episode where like class and wealth comes into Sex and the City, and like
they got real.
Exactly. Like it's causing friction between these like four best friends who like, it is funny how like there's no trouble in paradise when everybody just has enough money to buy Manolo Blahniks. You know what I mean?
1000%.
It's like, yeah, it's like on the Sex and the City Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like when all four women
when everyone has their shoes, it's all
exactly.
good.
Exactly. And Charlotte does make a valid point. Like, it's not my job to get you out of a financial jam. Like, I'm your friend. I have other responsibilities, but like this isn't one of them, which is a valid point.
Yeah, no, she's right.
Yeah, and then Carrie, of course, notices while Charlotte's gesticulating that she's at home doing her private ritual with her former engagement ring. And Carrie, of course, then throws that right back in her face. You're telling me to be more independent. And this is similar to what you were just saying on the same note, Caroline. These two women are realizing in real time, like, we're two sides of the same coin here of like, we're both having trouble living independently for different reasons. And Charlotte starts having a freak out of like, it's my ring. I can do whatever I want. And also like, the reason I'm not getting paid to work is because I can't. Nobody's going to hire me. And this is a shameful thing that Charlotte has not admitted yet. But, you know, this argument coming to a head has sort of forced her hand. And then this is what I find really interesting about this. The argument and the conversation does not resolve. Carrie just says, the most we get is Carrie says, I got really worked up on the walk over here. She doesn't say like, I'm sorry. She just says, I'm coming in really hot because I got really worked up coming over here. Charlotte doesn't apologize. We don't really get a resolution. Carrie just says, like, walks out of the apartment in a huff and says, like, I'm going to take the bus. Yeah. And there's no like, end to it, which I think is very weird. I mean, obviously we get that later on in the episode, which we'll talk about in a second, but, like, I don't know, just weird to just have this blow-up argument and just kind of let it hang in the air.
I would say, though, it's a testament to their friendship that they were able to move on, because like this was a pretty like the subject matter was pretty intense, and they both said some pretty hurtful things to each other and treated each other in very hurtful ways. And I remember watching this the first time and being like, oh my God, they're not going to survive this. They're not going to survive this fight. And to see how they could come around to like see that, oh, both of us are very vulnerable at this time. And what remains, maybe not money, maybe not men, it's each other.
Samantha exits a relaxing bath only to find Richard's personal shopper there, who she has never seen and never met.
Also, the layout of Richard's apartment is like a Four Seasons penthouse. It's like so crazy.
Is this a full-size bed?
Yeah, it's really quite small.
The full-size bed epidemic on this show is crazy.
Right? I'm like, y'all was fucking in that?
No, and Richard's having threesomes. You can't have a threesome on that bed. Are you taking like, are you tagging in and out?
Right.
Like,
someone on the sideline getting Gatorade, tag me in. Yeah.
There's like there's a chair off to the side that we can't see. That there. The extra chair. Yeah, the layout of Richard's apartment has always pissed me off because this does look like a hotel room in like not a good way. Like like this is not the right place to put a bed. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not. Why would you have a bed at the very bottom of a double staircase? It doesn't make any sense. I just love this exchange because like Samantha freaks out and like, the guy immediately is like, I'm gay. She's like, well, gay, turn around and give a girl a moment. And then we get this ad for Pilates, which I'm sure was having like a spike in popularity at the time. I can only imagine. And so this guy admits that he is Richard's personal shopper. And we find out that Richard didn't buy any of these gifts for Samantha. This man has been responsible for all of them. And then it dawns on her that Richard hasn't written any of the cards. So this like existential freak out that she's been having about how Richard feels about her isn't fully valid because Richard isn't even involved in any of it. So she says, sexy for sexy, and he says, me for you. He was like, please don't get me fired. And so she says, well, you have one thing that you're going to do for me. And so she has found her way to manipulate Richard through his personal shopper. Samantha's having like the least traumatic experience in this episode. She's just getting a lot of gifts and trying to define the relationship. But I just think this is a funny exchange.
Well, although I will say, as someone who's been in a relationship where you get a lot of gifts like that, it's in exchange for their lack of being able to be intimate. Like, it's like, you're getting the gifts in exchange for not getting the intimacy that you're actually craving, which I think is, as I've said, I think Samantha is anxiously attached, and you sort of see that throughout this, because she's seeking the love, like she wants to hear the words of affirmation. And I think we see, Richard brings out all of these like parts of her that we don't see with her with anyone else. Like she's secure otherwise, but in this dynamic, she doesn't have the upper hand.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And it also is mirroring this underlying theme about like money and material things in the show. And like, okay, so she has the material, but she still doesn't feel secure.
Man, Michael Patrick King, you were really in your bag with this one.
No, it's a well-written episode.
It was written by Amy B. Harris. It was written by a woman. So.
Of course it was.
We should have known. We should have known.
We should have known. We absolutely should have known. Yeah, so Samantha gets what she thinks she wants. She gets the personal shopper to write Love Richard on the card, which then Richard... This is such a weird moment. Richard, like, pauses and like looks at the card knowing he didn't write it, but then has an epiphany that he does love Samantha, and Samantha does not say it back. She says, I love my bracelet, because in Carrie's narration, as Carrie's narration says, it would cost her too much to actually say I love you to this man. So she thinks she gets what she wants, but she's not ready for it.
Well, then she gets him the hearts from Bed Bath & Beyond 2 episodes later.
That stupid picture of the 3 hearts that like looks like it. Yeah, it's art you buy at Bed Bath & Beyond for sure. That comes with the frame. Yeah, so these two are working out their childcare contract because Miranda's about to have the baby. And Steve, of course, is kind of rolling his eyes at this of like, we're talking about a kid, not a train. Like, you can't like schedule it this much. These two have always had very like opposite ideas of like how to organize things. This whole interaction, I don't know. I just love Steve. How do you feel about Steve, Colette? I personally love Steve.
Yeah, I know from watching your episodes you do.
It's okay if you don't. It's okay. It's
Steve
okay.
annoys the shit out of me.
Oh, fair.
Yeah,
okay, say more about that.
His voice, his neediness, his just like not getting it. Like I can't with Steve.
It's weaponized incompetence in some ways.
Yes,
it is.
Yes, exactly.
It is,
exactly.
and he's kind of a cartoon in a lot of ways too. Yeah, no, I totally get that.
I mean, he's adorable, but
yes,
he would be another child.
Yeah, yeah, which Miranda kind of makes the point of at one point. Yeah. But Miranda's feeling insecure and Steve's rubbing her feet. I have to say, this moment feels it's hot to me. It is. He says, "No, you're not attractive. You got that glow." And she's like, "Yeah, but like you don't want to have sex with me, right?" And it's like, Miranda, Steve always wants to have sex with you.
Here's the thing: if he's a straight man is always gonna say yes. They're always if sex is on the table, they're just happy to see a naked body.
Right.
They are. As they should be. As they should be.
As they should be. We are gifts.
Yes, we are gifts. But yeah, so he gets flirty and jokey about like, I don't know if that's allowed in the contract, and this is hot to me. They decide that they are going to have sex, and Miranda, of course, is very clear about the boundaries here of like, this does not mean that we're together. This is just a mercy fuck. Okay, we have reached the final scene in this episode, and we finally get some closure between Carrie and Charlotte. They both have had some time to think about it. They come around and they realize that they're both sorry about the way they behaved the other day. And Charlotte admits, like, I just haven't been able to let go of this part of my life. Like, obviously I'm not married anymore, but like, I'm just not ready to like move into this new chapter. And Carrie says the quiet part out loud and is like, we're both alone again. And they realize that they're actually in the same boat in a lot of ways. And we get this like, I love this because it obviously mirrors. I know. I love this because it mirrors a proposal, like an actual marriage proposal, but it's between these two friends. And it's just so beautiful. And Charlotte is like, you should take this ring and you should sell it and you should use it for your down payment. Which is, I just think, such a creative way to solve the problem of this plot in the episode. You know what I mean? It's like Carrie is not actually taking money away from her friends. She even says it later, like Charlotte is using this pain and turning it into like my hopeful future, and it's just such a beautiful moment.
It's also forcing Charlotte to sort of take one step towards her future. Like, because she was like, she's not wearing the ring at home anymore now. So it's like Charlotte's also saying like, okay, I'm ready to take the first step into what this next Charlotte is about to be.
Yeah, exactly. And Carrie she wants to make sure Charlotte's really comfortable with this. She's like, you might be right. It might be too complicated. And I just love this. Like, Charlotte's had a couple days and realizes, like, why do I have all this money? What am I doing with it if I'm not even going to use it to help a friend? Which I just, it's crazy that Charlotte made that full 360 in just a couple days, but like I don't know. I just think it's such a wonderful moment between the two of them.
And I'll say, like, and from the scene before, I'm glad they left it not resolved, because I think it allowed for a much more beautiful resolution, like here, because it allowed like friendship is ugly sometimes where you like don't know what to say, and I think this was so realistic to like see this like play out that way.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was, and also like sometimes when you watch things as creatives, I'm sure you all have the same situation. You can guess what the solution is going to be, what the resolution is going to be, and I never saw this coming. So when it came, I was like, I'm literally tearing up. I'm such a weirdo.
Yeah,
I was like, this
You're
is
not.
such a perfect ending, and it's so sweet and symbolic, and it felt like a proposal. And it was like also just indicative that like they are each other's true loves.
Yeah,
they are each other's people, Like, I love it so much. That's why
I love it too.
It's the best.
I really love it. I really love it. And I like that Carrie didn't just accept it. She was like, I need you to know, like, do you actually trust me that I am going to pay you back and that it's going to take a long time? And we get, of course, the mirroring of an engagement. I do. And they're holding hands and they trust each other. And it's just so beautiful between the two of them. Yeah, I just love this moment. I think it's so special and so amazing. We don't really ever find out, like, later in the season or in the movies or anything, like, whether or not Carrie did pay Charlotte back. I think it's
Right.
like assumed that she probably does because it doesn't come up as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, just the love of like to see your friends struggling in this way and realize like, yeah, they're not in the best financial situation, and like all evidence would lead to this is not a great idea to give them this money.
Yeah.
But to love them and trust them enough to be able to, I don't know, it's just such a beautiful moment. And then we see like Carrie is, we don't need Aidan anymore. You know, we're getting the handyman to do what we need to do. The toilet's fixed. He's going to patch up the wall. And she is signing her paperwork, and we get this parallel moment to the beginning of like, you know, she didn't have to like click her ruby slippers together, but she's home. And that is where the episode ends. What are our final thoughts?
A perfect episode minus the slurs.
Yeah, seriously. God.
Totally.
I know. And like that character could have been so fun. They didn't need it, you know? Like
No.
Yeah, I mean, the effed up thing is, like, I'm sure at the time I thought it was so funny, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, we grow, we change.
We grow and we change, yes, of course.
But yeah, I on so many different levels, this episode is so indicative of their friendships and what they mean to each other and what it means to be a woman and try to be independent and take care of yourself. And negotiating dynamics between partners. It's everything.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine, like, being around the age these women, like, if you were in 2002 living in New York City and like knew you were like maybe not going to have enough to pay rent and you were watching this episode, can you imagine like the emotional effect that would have on you? Like, yeah.
And I think it does just such a good representation of like, I think in your 30s in particular, all of your friends are at very different parts of their lives. Like your 20s were sort of like on the same track, but your 30s, like some people have kids, some people are married, some people are getting divorced, some still have, and I think it does such a good cross section of showing like what many different paths we can take at this point and still show up for each other, even though our paths we may not be going down the same yellow brick road, but like we can like help each other down the like you know, down the road together. So I think it's you know, it's why we always come back to this show, why we love it so much. It's the best.
Well, I think that's a good note to wrap up on. Thank you again so much, Colette Gregory, for being here with us. We had such a blast. I loved recapping this episode with you. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to us on TikTok or Instagram, please go ahead and do that. Tell your friends. Please comment and yap with us. Tell us how you feel about this amazing episode. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everybody.